La 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 la. Screen peeking. Bop bop bop.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 31 of Screen Peeking, a weekly podcast where Ziggy and I get together to talk about video games and everything video game related. Um, Today's show, we have a bunch to talk about, mostly just what the games we've been playing, what we really like about them, what we don't like, kind of similar to last week. Yeah, let's jump right into what we've been playing this week. Ziggy, how are you doing? What have you been playing? Tell me all about
I'm
it.
doing good. Before I tell you what I'm playing, though, for whatever reason, every single time, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like almost every single intro, I take a sip of water, and today I didn't, and I don't know why, but like for some reason, every single time you start your intro, I just go, God, I'm thirsty. I need a sip, like
It's
consistently every single episode.
like The Office when Dwight needs an Altoid anytime the sound from the computer
like the
comes
Pavlov's
off.
dogs thing. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but anyways, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. In terms of what I've been playing, you talking about Doom Eternal. I just kind of got like a hankering for it again, so
Heck yeah.
I re-downloaded it, and I've just sort of been like skipping through levels. I haven't been playing it like start to finish.
Yeah.
But I've been playing it on Ultra Violence, and I'm just trying to like re-teach myself the game because I want to play the DLC. So I'm trying to, just sort of like get myself back in the zone of playing that game. Because it plays and moves so different from other shooters. It is sort of a mindset I have to get into. So yeah, I've been trying to do that. And also that game is so much fun on Ultraviolence. Like I feel like
imagine
every game that comes out, I always see articles about like the true way to play it is if you play it on the hardest difficulty with no UI and you play it with your feet and blindfolded. But like, I feel like Doom is one of the few games where I kind of agree. Like playing that game on harder difficulties, it does genuinely become more fun. Just because when there is like 6 Macubi all coming at you, and like just a million of the like floaty guys whose name I'm forgetting, Kakademon, and like there's just so much going on, and you have to put your head in so many different directions at once. It just makes it so fun.
If I could say something on that, like that's what I want the next Metroid Prime to be more like. And I'm not talking about gore, and it doesn't have to be that difficult. But in terms of how it feels to play, Metroid Prime on the GameCube had the little dodge left and right, not forward and backward, but it had a lot of these like that movement where you feel like, oh, there's projectiles coming, you dodge to the side. And I always compared Doom or the Doom 2016 to Metroid and how it kind of evolved that. And I would love to see the next Metroid Prime kind of take notes from Doom. I think that'd be a lot of fun because it's very much, Metroidvania or Metroid, so you know what I mean? Like that would be, I think, anyways, I just wanted to say that because I was thinking about Metroid just now. And yeah, I really want to play the next one.
Yeah, no, now that you say it, like the movement in Eternal is so good. Like that's kind of one of the bits I forgot, but like the double jump and the dodging in that game is such a game changer. I think like 2016 also had a double jump, but they didn't use it too much.
Oh yeah, they didn't have the dodge, did they?
No, they didn't. The dodge is new, but like it just makes you feel so in control. Where every time you just get hit in general, you're like, oh, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Like I could have. You can avoid pretty much every attack in the game, which is really unique in modern shooters. Because usually it's just like 12 guys with hit scan bullets that hit you on occasion, and that's fine. It's basically just like a time limit ticking down to when you can stand in their range of fire. But here it is like fireballs that you can see coming at you and dodge out of the way. And that you like just have being so in control when you've learned to master the movement in that game is such a fun feeling.
Yeah, it's real like testament to the skill of them to make you feel like you're a heavy brute of a character, yet you're super agile and able to be like mobile at the same time. It's crazy.
Yeah, or like the plot, like the feeling that like when you talk about that is when you like dodge into one of the walls you can grab onto, it just has that like thump to it as you just like really cling into it. Yeah, and you're like, because it feels like
you like grip
heavy,
on.
like you're a huge dude in a very bulky suit. But you also are just like stupidly
and you're swinging from bars still. Swinging around like a monkey.
Yeah. Also, the sound design in that game is so good. Like people, I mean, I've talked about the shotgun, the guns in general, but like the headshot sound in that game is so good. Like
satisfying.
it literally sounds like a cork coming out of a bottle. Like they'll like
Yeah,
sound to it, but
totally.
it's so I adored it. It's so fun. It's all like Looney Tunes sounds almost. Like they're so over the top and cartoonish, but they
Yeah, when you
make it
pull the
just so-
eyeball out of the whatever the guy is.
yeah, and it has that like pop. Yeah. But and I think a lot of that is kind of how it skirts away from also being just like disturbing because it is like fucking Looney Tunes. It's like with the sound design and all that, it just feels silly. But yeah, it's real good. Real good game. Another game I'm playing, Haven, which is basically the opposite video game. Which I touched on it a little bit a while ago, where it's that like the co-op RPG from the people who made Fury.
Okay.
And it's like a romance RPG essentially, where you are like a couple who they're already together. Like their romance isn't about romancing some other person. They're already an established couple, and they've essentially run away to some distant planet, away from like some sort of oppressive regime or whatever, and are trying to make themselves a life there. And it is, building all sorts of intrigue of where do they come from, like what is this place that they were, running away, and also just like their relationship as they are in, a really stressful situation, and having that with the other person you're playing, where you're making dialogue decisions together and sort of like ice skating around. It's this really, really cool co-op focused battle system that I like, where you only have like 4 moves, but like you might have like one person blocking while the other person attacks, and it's just like the synergy between the two play styles is really cool. But yeah, I think it's just a really, really solid co-op game. I haven't gotten far enough into it to really appreciate what the story is doing yet, but I think it's finally starting to pick up and build some real intrigue where I'm at. So I have more want to keep playing, which is good. But also I feel like it's because it is so romance focused. Like I was thinking of would I play this game like with Owen or like with you or something, and I feel like I wouldn't. Like it does feel like a game that you should really either play with just like single player, or because you can't play single player, or with your significant other, because it is. I don't really know how to describe it. For one, the characters are just so horny for each other, like the whole game. Like one of them will say something, and the other is like, or they're like, "Oh, time to relax." And he's like, "Yeah," makes a comment about them like fucking or something, and then which like
this boner is hard to carry around.
Like it comes off as just like casual banter.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound weird in context, but like if I was playing that with like a sibling or a friend, I would probably feel pretty uncomfortable in that moment.
Play with your dad.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, playing it single player, I think would be a perfectly fine experience. But I definitely think playing it with Taylor is something for you, because it is also quite easy. Like I think it even says when you launch the game, like, hey, there's difficulty options, but like this is an easy game. Don't worry about it.
Gotcha.
Which is interesting, given the fact that it's made by the same people who made Fury, which is like a brutally tough, like high.
Yeah, I gave that one a try. That was
yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, I gave that one a try. I got pretty far, and eventually it just went over my head. But yeah, solid game. And then playing Genesis Noir, which we'll talk about, and It Takes Two, which I will also talk about.
Yeah, we'll give you the time to talk about both of those. Yeah, so for me, I finished Doom Eternal. I was playing that last week. Got to the end of that. I was just playing on the normal difficulty, but I totally see what you mean. Like, I found it very hard at the end. I actually found it pretty challenging, but not to the point where I was actually loading, like, when you run out of lives and you're actually loading the thing. I think that happened 3 times in the whole game for me. But just knowing I lost a life, it would make me go, oh, I shouldn't have had that happen. I shouldn't have lost that life. And I kind of appreciated that, so I didn't have to, go through a short loading screen and just have to start over an encounter. But yeah, no, I really liked the game a lot. I actually found the final boss fight where you're like tearing all the different parts of the body off. I was like, that's pretty fun, and you're just kind of getting bombarded from all directions. You just have to like stick, with what the goal is, and trying not to get too distracted by all the other guys running around trying to take your attention away from them. And yeah, that was cool. But yeah, not super challenging, and I could see. Yeah.
You talking about the loading just made me remember. Like one of the things I was thinking when I was playing it again is just like this game is such a technical marvel. Like the fact that I can play this game at a very consistent high frame rate on ultra settings is crazy in of itself. But also, like this game does not have load times for me. Like I have a fairly standard SSD in my computer, but like I die and I press space to continue. Like it literally does not load. It is crazy. And it's not like this is a lightweight game either. Like this game looks really, really good. Like there is a lot of detail in the models and stuff. It's just the most insanely optimized engine. It's kind of wizardry. But anyways, continue.
No, you're totally right. Like, yeah, when I was saying like to happen, I think I meant more like when you take it out, when you're taken out of the experience and you're starting that encounter again, and you have that bit of downtime where you go, oh, okay, got to start this again. No, that's fine. You know, let's get going.
Yeah.
I appreciate having a few lives if you choose to collect them, where you can lose a life and you know, damn, I shouldn't have lost that. I should, like, that would be a game over. I think
the extra life collectible is really good.
It's just kind of nice because you don't have to get them, but if you want to, you can. But yeah, no, that was really awesome. And then I started playing The Witcher 3. I took a little vacation from work and didn't really know what I was going to play. Didn't really have any ambitions for that. Spent some time cleaning my car and just hanging out with my dad and, you know, hanging out with Taylor. And then so I had 5 days off, and on the fourth day I can't remember where I was watching YouTube videos and I heard Witcher 3 and I thought, wait a second, I haven't really played much of that. And I definitely haven't played it since I upgraded my computer. So and that's like been a few years now. So I was like, I'm jumping in. Let's see. I remember being confused by the game before. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about this here. So just you know, buckle up. I'm going to talk about this game for a little bit. This is my game to discuss. But this one, I hear so many great things about The Witcher. And there was always that bit of disassociation where I'd go, I know I played it, but I couldn't connect with the game for some reason or another. And I love fantasy, you know that. Like I love when a game has a bestiary. Like I love that in Doom too, like where like you could see all the different creatures, what they're weak to, what they're strong against. You know, Witcher has that, you know, like a ton of creatures and different categories, you know, relics and, you know, vampires and or whatever they're called, you know, cursed creatures, beasts and stuff. And then you're like trying to figure out what the best way to deal with them is, and which magical sign you should use, and what oil to cover your sword in. And I just remember feeling really confused way back in the day, whenever that was. And now I don't know, nothing's confusing to me. So I've definitely grown as a person or as a gamer or whatever. But
your hesitance to say that was so good.
But I was like really happy to be really into it now, and I'm almost through wherever I got to before, because I think I, like, from what I remember of story, I don't think I got much further than where I'm at right now. And when I was loading into the game on Steam, it said I had played like 90 hours, so I played a good chunk, but over the years, and I know I restarted multiple times, so I never really got that far. But yeah, one of the things I just really love about it right now is just the amount of things you can do and how well done the side quests are, and the little side characters and missions, and it's fun to actually sit there and listen to characters talk. I personally, I'm going to dig a bit on Mass Effect. I have found Mass Effect kind of boring to listen to, personally. I found it a little bit boring to listen to characters discuss things. They would talk about stuff, and I would not care about it at all. But I found in Witcher, something about it, it was either interesting because I thought it was funny, or interesting because I thought it was cool. I don't know, but there was a lot of different stuff like that really pulled me in. And then I'm starting to get the hang of the combat. It was a bit of a learning curve for me. I'm used to Dark Souls, obviously, right, where you have some invincibility frames, or you have something going for you, and you kind of have that with like a dodge roll, but it's more about getting out of the way than just dodging through the enemy attack. And that was cool, learning about the potions, how, like, when you first get in the game and you're like, okay, there's meditation, you can go through, you know, you can choose the time of day, you can put oil on your swords, you can repair your weapons because they're going to break, they're going to get damaged, they're going to lose some damage, then you're going to get different items all the time, you're going to have to compare it, you're going to have to do this and that, and you're like, what the heck, there's so much, you know, flying at me. And I remember just being overwhelmed by that before. So for whatever reason, it's not overwhelming now, and I am so in. I'm so into it now, and I'm just having a great time. So I can't stop playing it. I got up at 4 this morning, and I started work at 8, so I played for 3 hours this morning. Because my shift usually starts at 5 for those who don't know. But today I had to start later, so I was like, well, I'm get up at the usual time. I'll get up at 4 and I'll just start playing for 3 hours, then go to work. So that feels good because now I know I got to play a bit today. Yeah, that's all I'll say on that. But I definitely am enjoying it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think I've played like half hour of that game. I did not get very far at like a friend's house. I think I had a similar experience with that I did Red Dead 2, where I think for me, not even gameplay so much as just like game feel is so important to how I experience games, where especially when they're long like that, if a game just doesn't feel good to control, or doesn't feel great to control, I should say, I have a really difficult time sticking with it. And like Red Dead 2, I love so much about that game, but at the end of the day, just like walking around and shooting people feels bad to me. So I just couldn't really keep doing it. Like the story missions all just felt like such a drag. And like The Witcher 3, I didn't think was bad per se, but it just, something about it didn't feel quite right. And like that's not what the game is trying to do. Like same with Red Dead 2, like the decisions it made were all very intentional. It wasn't like just poor design or oversight. It just didn't feel good to me. And I think that's a similar thing as that. And also, like we've talked about, we have opposite views on fantasy. Like it's your favorite.
Yeah,
It's not really mine.
Totally.
Yeah. But I wish I could get into it because all of what you're describing, like people, like NPCs just talking about the world, the bestiaries. I love that shit too. Just like reading about all the different enemies and stuff and having that experience. It does seem really cool, and that's partly why I was initially so excited for Cyberpunk, is because I really wanted like I didn't even necessarily need the greatest game ever made. I just wanted The Witcher, but in a world and gameplay style that I could get down with.
Yeah, we wanted depth.
Yeah, which is unfortunately not what we got. But yeah, I'm a little jealous of you getting into it. I wish I could as well.
Yeah, I guess so. I lied. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. When you were talking there, I mean, going from my old computer where I could barely run the game at, mixed settings and 1080p and no NVIDIA like whatever it's called, Hairworks, the realistic hair physics, right? And to now where, you would be able to do the same thing. Like I have an RTX 2080, and to be able to just play with like 4K, put everything on highest, and have that realistic hair that's not just on Geralt, but also on like some of the monsters and creatures, which just looks awesome. Like that just it just brought a new life to the game also for the areas that I've already seen and done. But yeah, going into the bestiary, like just to like expand on that a bit more, like when you through a mission, you'll see signs, like for example a vampire, people are being drained of blood, and you just go, I know that's a vampire, and you can look through your bestiary, and if you read the correct books, you can loot books all the time, and if you choose to read them, you might get a recipe for a potion, or you might find out information on a bestiary about a creature. And so like it's just by chance, if you looted the right thing, you read the right book, you can get some information, or you talk to the right person, you can get information on these creatures. And so then let's say you had information on a vampire, and then you go, okay, so he's weak to this type of potion or this type of I got a potion, for example, that turns my blood black. That's like dangerous to vampires, right? So if they suck the blood out of me, they're gonna get hurt. Or I can get a certain oil on my sword to be stronger against them. And then you just kind of like play with that, and you're like, I know what I'm doing here. And you can't change some of these things once you're in combat, so you want to plan ahead a little bit. And I find that super fun. And obviously harder difficulties would really require that. And if you drink too many potions, you can get your toxicity too high and you take damage from that. So you really want to manage all that. The other thing I was going to say is like, just to I thought of a specific side mission, or a couple that like really that I've had happen recently. And I mean, the game's been out long enough, hopefully you don't mind me just spoiling 2 little side missions out of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But just to touch on like just the I can tell, like, I know that there's going to be other ways to deal with this situation, and I'm curious to play those encounters again, or to find out how it ends up if you play differently. But like, I had this lady who I met, there's some sexual tension between the characters, right? And then you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? And so then, my character sleeps with her, and then she goes to this tower, and then you're like, oh, what's she doing over there? So you go check it out. You find out she's doing some kind of necromancy, and like she's really like into some dark magic shit. And you're like, I don't know if that's right. Give me these notes back or whatever that you have. And then you turn out, you fight her, and then so I chose to fight her, and then I killed her. And so then it's just kind of like, and that was within 5 minutes. So I'm like, damn, like that changed really quick. I wonder what could have happened here. You know what I mean? So that was interesting. Another one was this demonic, like almost like a heartbeat kind of pulsating, like ball of flesh inside a tree, and had spikes, like viney spikes all around it, and you're talking to it. It's like this ghost in this tree, and it's like asking you to save it or to bring it back to life and stuff, and it sounds creepy. Like, you don't want to trust it, and it's telling you to do this like blood ritual where you have to like get some raven feathers and its old remains, bring it to it, bring in this black like wild horse, catch it, bring it to it, and then you have to cut it and let the blood drip down, have the horse eat the blood and stuff. And you're like, oh, this sounds messed up. And you have multiple chances to be like, you can lie to it and kill the thing, or like this heart thing, or you can help it or whatever. I chose to help it, so then it possessed this horse. I don't know what's going to happen next, but there's more to this. And I just think that's really cool, because like I could just kill the thing. I know way back in the day I've met this thing and I killed it, but I don't remember what happened. So it's kind of like the way that these little side missions, like I'm pretty darn sure both of these are side missions. I don't think that, or side quests or whatever you want to call it, they're not like main story path, I don't believe. So they're, and anyways, those were both really, really cool situations for me. And
honestly, the fact that you weren't 100% sure if they were side quests or main quests or not, I think says a lot about them.
100%. Like, definitely, if you're curious again, I'd say the inventory management is the worst part of the game. I personally think it's actually really not that great, but it's not the worst thing ever either. So
yeah.
Anyways, that is all I'll say on this game.
All right.
Do you want to move into?
Oh, Jinx. So yeah, you want to get into Genesis Noir?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, why don't you go ahead? I've been talking forever. What have you thought of this?
So this is the first Game Pass game that I finished before recording the next episode. And that is purely because I fucking love this game. Like, it is so good. And is also not, like, a lot of the times I'll bring games like, oh, it's so good, but it's also like so my shit. This game isn't really like traditionally my type of thing, I guess. Like, well, I do like space. Basically, it's even if you don't plan on playing it, I would say watch the trailer, because the trailer is incredible. But it's basically a sort of point and click style noir adventure game. But, and there's a big but, and that it's all a very metaphorical representation of the creation of the universe, like from a very scientific perspective. Like, it's about the Big Bang and about the collection of dust and particles into stars that, or like gas giants and all these things, but in this really beautiful way. Yeah, no, same. The whole game I was trying to figure out like what certain things meant, and it would always do these cool things where, and this I think is what ties the whole game together. Like, if this wasn't in here, I would not like this game nearly as much. But before every sort of level, it has this little like maybe 5-sentence long, if that, like little blurb about something in astrophysics where it'll mention like the fact that, you know, all these like gases and stuff, all, you know, with the gravity would come together and they get so dense that they form a star. But sometimes, you know, that doesn't work right and they become a gas giant. And like, you know, every gas giant is essentially just like a failed star. And then it would move into this whole thing about a story behind like Golden Boy, you know, this like kind of cocky like jazz musician, and his like career with the singer, and how like he fell out of grace. And you're just starting to see the, like, oh, I see like the way that these characters and ideas and like imagery all represents like both very like, you know, literal scientific stuff, but also stuff like, oh, the main character, like when I was playing, my read on it was that he is entropy. Like, he is not really like
Ooh.
death or anything, just sort of like the general. Yeah, it's just entries, sort of the descent into chaos that is just the natural way of the universe, not in a bad way, just like that's just the way the universe works. As things happen, he like there's one scene I remember really vividly where there's these sort of like tribal type people that are sort of going, and you watch them hunt this like deer down, and you basically sit there and watch the deer like decompose slowly as like nature sort of grows around it and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's like it's a game where if you ask me anything about the story, I wouldn't know what to tell you because the story isn't really there. Neither is like there isn't much gameplay either. Most of it is moving your cursor and clicking on stuff and watching stuff happen, or moving your character around certain areas. But it's just all like vibes and imagery and music, and it has this like beautiful like sort of ethereal jazz soundtrack to it that I loved. And then, again, like watch the trailer. It's hard to describe the visual style of this game, but it's really,
I'm
really
playing
abstract
it. Yeah.
and interesting. Yeah. Oh, okay, perfect. But yeah, as you can see here, like this really black and white sort of like vector 3D type thing. I don't know.
I think the way the puzzles worked were really interesting. Like not even
Yeah.
puzzles really, but just like you're sitting there and you go, oh wait, nothing's happening. Oh, I'm supposed to do something now. And just the way there's that one room at the beginning where you're moving your cursor around, and as the cursor's like moving past, say, like a jar, it's knocking it onto the floor. You're like, oh crap, not that on the floor. And you just kind of moving it around, and there's all these things happening. I just think like the way that they do that is really cool. It made me feel like everything I'm doing is impacting the world, even though I'm not clicking something, so that was neat. Yeah,
I would say the puzzles also get much better as the game goes on. Like
cool.
there is one moment in particular, and I'll just say it's an extra sciencey level, without spoiling too much, because it does get into sort of spoiler territory. But I don't even really want to describe what the puzzle is, but it is just really, really well put together. And one of the few puzzles in a game that genuinely made me actually have to really think about what I was doing. Because a lot of them are, like I said, just kind of simply clicking on stuff, but occasionally it does get really cool. Also, I've had this moment in the last couple weeks between the bits that I liked in Balan Wonderworld, which is basically only the cutscenes, and playing this game where I truly believe more games need musical numbers, because this game has a couple, and also There Is No Game has a musical number as well that I really loved, and like all three of those I really liked for some reason. I don't even like musicals, but like all three of them I thought were really impactful. I don't know, but yeah, this game has some great musical numbers in it, especially towards the end. I would definitely encourage you to finish it, Nick.
I will.
Like,
I know I will, because I did enjoy it. So for the exact spot where I like kind of fell off for the time being, I guess, is where you're planting the seeds and you're collecting those particles around the area. And it was just the walking speed. I think it just started slowing down a lot there, and I was just walking around like, what am I doing? And I planted like 6 of these seeds or more, and at that point I was like, okay, I think I understand a good chunk of this game to talk about it, but I'm going to to dip out for now. So
and that also, just like I said, that is easily my least favorite part of the whole game, so it all goes uphill from there, luckily.
Well, that's good to know. That's definitely good to know. I still haven't downloaded.
The ending I did think was really impactful, though. I think it's worth getting to that part. I again don't want to say anything about it.
Yeah, don't. I'll finish it. I'll take an evening to do it or something like that. How long do you think it took to beat?
No more than 6 hours for sure. It was pretty quick, yeah. And
digestible.
also I also got a shit ton of gamer score from it. So if you're into that, like, it's worth checking out for that reason alone. But yeah, no, I think this is my favorite game club game we've done so far, to be honest.
That's awesome.
I think it's impacted me the most, yeah. And also, like, I feel like I say this every fucking episode, but like such a testament to Game Pass because I would never have played this game if not for Game Pass. Like it would
I
not
feel
have
like
been
you
on my
would have.
radar
I
at
feel
all.
like I definitely wouldn't have, but I feel like you
my thing
possibly
about
could
it,
have.
I just don't think I would have seen it because I have heard nobody talk about this
True.
game. Like
Yeah.
on no podcast or like anything that I follow, I haven't seen anything about it. And I think the only reason it was put in front of my face is because it was on the recently added section in Game Pass. And I think that that really, really speaks to like the visibility part of what makes Game Pass great. Where every time something gets added, I look at it, and I definitely don't think I am alone in that. I think because every time you get it, it's a free game. It's worth looking at. I could play it potentially. I wouldn't have to spend money, so I want to see if it's for me. Whereas if it was just in the store, I may have seen the icon, maybe, probably not, but I don't even think I would have clicked on it, to be honest.
Right.
But yeah, I'm so glad I did because I love this game.
I just want to touch on the art of it. The minimalistic way that they draw the characters and just everything in the world. I'm something that kind of just popped in my head when I was playing was, it's so minimalistic, and that's hard to do sometimes. I was thinking about, okay, what if I was to draw this? What if I had nothing to go off of, and they're like, okay, we want to draw these characters, da 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 da, and I find I have a hard time stopping when I go, okay, that's enough. I understand that's what the character looks like. That's enough. You got the hat, you got the eyes, you got this shape of the nose from the side view. You don't need to draw anymore. We don't need to add anything else. This is good enough. And I found like it was perfect for what I was looking at. It was awesome. I loved every bit of it. And I think for just comparing it to myself and how I would probably overdo it, I'd draw too many. Oh, I gotta add another bracelet here or something. Add some cross thatching to that jacket pocket or something like that. I don't know. I just thought I wanted to compliment that because I thought that was really good.
Well, yeah, and there's definitely that side to it because, yeah, I agree. Like, it's easy to just keep going, but also, like, effectively establishing emotion and, like, character in something I'm looking at art of this game right now, and there is, like, 5 lines in some of these characters, like, it is so simplistic. And like that is crazy impressive in of itself. Like Golden Boy, the saxophone player, who shoots the singer in like the first 5 minutes of the game, so it's not really a spoiler. But like immediately after seeing him, just like the pompadour and like the jacket and just like the way he stands, just like immediately character. Like exactly who he is. You hate him. You think he's like such a
Groose.
dick, just by looking at him. Yeah, exactly. He's Groose. But like, and it's so effective. I'm glad you touched on that because that is really, really impressive for sure. And I also don't want to really spoil this, but
don't do it then. Don't do it.
I'm not even gonna say it. When you finish
6 hours,
I'll
play
talk
it,
to you
people.
about it. Yeah.
We both
I'll
really
talk about
recommend it
when you finish it. Yeah.
We're both giving it 2 thumbs up, and I haven't finished it, but I will.
2 thumbs up. Yeah. Awesome.
Well, let's move on because I really want to hear your impressions of It Takes Two. I've been wanting to hear what you think of this game. We gave you a week, and I want to know what you think. So,
yeah, I'm so glad I can be so positive on this episode because every single game I played this week I fucking love. Yeah, it's so good. Like it is. So when I was going into this game, what I was kind of expecting and wanting was basically the same as A Way Out, which is I don't really need a good game. I just need something that's entertaining to play with a friend, like something that I could at least laugh at to have fun with, which like A Way Out was a really fun game, but also like the pacing in that game was sloppy as hell. Like the game really dragged in some sections, and a lot of what I remember of the game was like laughing at goofy animations or pieces of dialogue and like enjoying the story, but also not taking it seriously at all.
gotcha.
And I love the game for that. Like, I absolutely don't think it's a bad game. I think it's a really good game, just in a really specific way. But I think It Takes Two totally turns it around, where I was laughing a lot while playing this game. I was having a lot of fun, but none of it was unintentional. Like, this game is just through and through a genuinely very well designed, very sharply written game, and like the way it balances game mechanics Like I think the pacing is the number one thing I can compliment, where it is very sort of Mario like in the sense where it introduces something new, it slowly builds into it, um, and then it reaches its climax. You fight a boss, and then it takes it away from you, and
Mhm.
you don't get it for the rest of the game. And I love that because like before you even start to get tired of a mechanic, it's gone, and you're on to the next, which makes it so breezy and fun to play. Where I'm never like, this again. Like, I don't think I ever thought that in the game. It like everything
That's what I've
was
been
felt
hearing.
fresh and new. Yeah. Um, and I think yeah, a lot of people have kind of talked that to death. I feel like that's what I've been hearing in most reviews of the game. But I think what really stands out to me too is that the game is really funny, and I
Oh,
think in a way
good.
that people don't really give it credit for. Where I have heard people kind of like rag on the story, and a lot of that is talking about the fact that the two main characters, like the husband and wife,
Hmm.
are just complete pieces of shit. Like they are despicable, and you hate them through the whole game. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Like it feels really intentional and it's really funny. Where like I was playing this game with Owen, and there were so many times that we just cracked up laughing over just like they'd say something. It's just like Jesus, how is this going through your head? But like it feels believable just in the
Mm.
sense that like these are just horrible human beings to the point where it's funny. Like my favorite moment is where like their daughter cries on them to turn them into dolls, and at some point they're like, oh, must be a spell, like the tears put us in here. And they're like, oh, so how do we reverse the spell? And they're like, oh, we got to make our daughter cry. And they're like, I guess that's fair. And then one of them brings up her like favorite stuffed animal, this elephant, and they're like, oh, we should kill the elephant. And the other is like, it has like, oh. And that's this moment where you think they're gonna be like, what is wrong with you? And they're like, that's a great idea. And they're going on about how they're gonna like brutally murder their daughter's favorite toy. And it's just like, oh, like Jesus, like what is this thought process?
That's awesome.
And
Plays
it
with their
like, I don't know.
expectations. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so just like darkly funny too. I think the best way I can describe it is it's like the world is all born out of like their daughter's imagination, so there's like a talking hammer, and it all seems like stuff sort of out of like a cheesy kids movie, um including Dr. Hakim, the creepy ass bug in the trailers. Like he, same thing, super like
There's
it's
a
like
wait.
intentional.
There's a
Yeah.
creepy ass book.
Yeah, like creepy, kind of his chin, he's got a hell of a butt chin.
Okay. Okay.
um but he like just stereotypes up the wall, and it feels like something out of a cheesy cartoon,
Hmm.
but it is at the end of the day like her parents, who, as I've stated, are horrible people, like interacting with all of this, where they fight like this big vacuum guy, and they're like climbing through it, and you kind of expect them to make it, or like strike a deal with it, or somehow make it go away through the power of friendship or whatever. But they like, you're fighting this boss, and at some point like he's stunned, and they like both pick up his vacuum arms and like slowly bring them towards his face. He's like, no, wait, what are you doing? And they like put it towards his eyes, and it just like slowly sucks his eyeballs out as he's like screaming in pain. It's like, just Jesus, it's off the chain with that stuff, like completely unexpected. But yeah, I really like it. I thought it was funny. I can definitely see how some people might think it's like cringy or dumb.
Mm.
I don't think it is. I think it's pretty sharp with a lot of the writing. And I think a lot, like I said, a lot of it's cheesy, but I think it's all very intentionally cheesy in a way that's effective for
Yeah, I was gonna say if
comedy.
it's effective and used properly, then
Hmm.
it can be great. Still, cheesy doesn't
Hmm.
have to be bad.
No, not at all. But yeah, I mean, I think, God, like I super recommend this to anyone who wants a co-op game, just in general. Um, yeah, if you want something funny, something fun.
I really want to play it. I know I will at
Yeah,
some point with Taylor, but who knows when.
yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I think this would be a great Game Pass game too if it ever
I think
comes
it's
on
gonna
there.
come to Game Pass through EA Play eventually,
I think there's a
so
good chance.
I'll probably
Yeah.
play it then.
And yeah, I mean, I think after playing A Way Out, I was already kind of at the point where I was excited for what the studio would do next. But at this point, I think I have just gained a lot more respect for them. Where the
Mm.
other one was as I said, it was really fun and something that I would encourage people to play, but not the best designed game. But this is like Nintendo levels of quality in terms of pacing and
That's so
polish.
awesome to hear. Like I love hearing of like a studio taking what they learn and just growing and doing
Yeah, it's
something
such
better.
growth. Yeah.
And just seeing so many good reviews for it made me happy to see that, because I'm just happy when any studio makes a great game, right? That almost unanimously, everybody is just raving about, talking about it in such high respect.
I remember on our predictions episode, I think predicted the Metascore for this one at like low 70s or like
I'm gonna try to
high
look it up.
60s. Which because that's what I was expecting. Again, is like a mediocre game is fun to play, but I'm so glad to see it not be that. To be, I think last I checked,
I'm just pulling it up right now. I'm on it. It's a 90 on PC.
Yeah, Jesus.
And we guessed. You gave it a 72. I gave it a 74.
Yeah. So to see it just like go that far above expectations, it's so awesome to see.
Yeah, totally.
And I absolutely agree with the score it has. It's if you told me this was a first party Nintendo game, actually I probably wouldn't believe you just because of the content in it. I don't think it's Super Nintendo like, but in terms of like from a raw game design standpoint,
right.
I would absolutely believe you.
Gotcha. All right. Well, moving on from that, that sounds awesome. I really want to play it. Like, I actually really, that's all I want to hear, because I want to play through the whole game. One thing I was wondering about, and obviously it's not a big deal to me, I'm just curious. I heard that there are some like actually more adult kind of themed like situations that happen, and more just in like, it could be innuendos or something. I don't know. Was there something that maybe felt a little bit, maybe a lot of the game feels PG, and then all of a sudden some parts just don't, and it's really weird?
Yeah, so it was sort of what I'm talking about, where there definitely is a lot of like intentional tonal dissonance with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was more like well, there was like a couple sort of innuendos here and there, but nothing you wouldn't see in like a Pixar movie,
Right.
or like a DreamWorks movie, maybe,
Cool.
where someone says something your kid wouldn't understand, but like you will.
Yeah.
But other than that, I wouldn't say anything in it was like particularly adult. It's just stuff I'm describing where like these people are monsters and the shit they do is kind of monstrous in a funny cartoonish way. I mean, I would say it's not on the level of something, like a Pixar or a DreamWorks movie. Probably more DreamWorks. But
not on the level of, like having sex with a woman and killing her 5 minutes.
No.
Like
not like The Witcher.
like my game. That messed me up. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic here. You put this on the doc, so why don't you cover this? The MLB.
Yeah, so I saw this earlier today. So MLB The Show, which is, if you're unaware, a Sony published franchise, earlier it was announced that the MLB basically forced them, I think, or just basically was editing the details of their deal to make it so it would be multi-platform, so coming to Xbox. But recently, today, the news broke that it actually is going to be coming to Game Pass on day one, which is really interesting. And
you told me that right before the show. I had no idea because I was working.
Yeah, and I don't really know what this means. I've heard some people talking about like, oh, does this mean Sony's more open to putting their exclusives on the? No. I think this is a really, really specific case because it is MLB. Like, in MLB, I think is much more open than Sony to having it everywhere, because it's a sports game. They want to have their IP and their license on everything. That's very easy to understand. It's weird to me that it was exclusive to PlayStation, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's coming to Game Pass, though, is much more interesting to me, where I just wonder what kind of deal was struck there to do that. Like,
what I'm wondering is Game Pass, are the Game Pass like subscription numbers now high enough to convince things like that to go, oh, we need to be on that platform? forget about how much money, like exposure or whatever it is, like I don't know what the most up to date, like I don't even know if they've released an up to date number like in the last couple weeks, right? I don't think they have, but I wonder what it's at now, where they could be throwing out, there's maybe potentially a huge number of being like, hey, come here, this many people will see this front page right when they turn on their computer or their phone or whatever, and they're all going to see this, like that's a big sell. A lot of
And
eyes.
MLB has the added incentive in that of the fact that they are not a video game franchise, like they are a live sports franchise. So
exactly.
The more people see the logo of MLB, and by playing the game, it makes them more likely to watch games and like on their TV. So I think having it, more accessible to more people for free is a pretty good deal for MLB. So I'm definitely not surprised. Like I think it's very, very good for MLB specifically. I just think it's so interesting that this got past I wonder if Sony even had a say in it at this point.
Yeah, like I'm wondering if they did at all.
But because I definitely think there's two things there. I think that there's what you talked about with like numbers, like MLB just having the incentive to say, hey, yeah, we really want this on your platform. We want to get this in front of more people's eyes. Or if it was just Microsoft writing a huge check and saying, hey, this is a Sony franchise that we know is like at all possible to get on Game Pass, because any other, is just totally off the book.
Maybe they're just trying to pull any little bits that they can, and then all they got is their studios.
Massive $100 million check, and they were like, well, shit, okay. I mean, with that kind of money, it's hard to say no, So yeah, it's definitely interesting. I would like to know what went on behind the scenes of this.
It's almost like how Microsoft's getting us in with the subscription, right? We pay once, like, oh, this is convenient, this is nice, we're gonna stay here, we're gonna pay another month and another month, right? And then maybe they do that with these game deals, right? Like, oh, just join Game Pass for a bit, and they go, oh wow, those numbers were actually really good, like maybe we'll stay here for another game and then another game. Maybe they're taking it on that way, right? I don't know, but that's kind of fun to think about.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next topic here, I wanted to ask you, because I got I got April Fooled just a little bit, and for just at the beginning of something here. I don't have it near me, so I can't quote it exactly. But I was wondering if you got April Fooled at all. I'll start with my. Oh, I was just gonna start with myself here. It was an Elden Ring related thing. I saw.
Oh no!
It said, on Twitter, people, they have their @ handle, right, and then they can change their name though at the beginning, and I totally didn't look into it. Saw it was almost like the classic, like, we're gonna delay the game kind of images, right, where you have like the border Elden Ring at the top, and it starts out just saying like, we can't, unfortunately we're gonna have to cancel Elden Ring, that we couldn't meet the expectations due to like COVID and all these things. I'm like, oh damn, and I was aware that it was April Fool's, but I still was like, oh no, like, what if this is real? That would really suck. And then, as I read on, it started to get more obscure and like crazy and just totally fake. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But it did get me. I will say it got me at the first couple seconds of just that heart drop of like, it's real. It's possible. You don't want it to happen, but what if COVID just fucks up some team and they just can't do it, and they're like, sorry, like, we had this ambition but we can't do it. I don't think that would happen for Elden Ring, but I did for a moment there. It scared the crap out of me. I want that game so bad. Anyways,
I don't know if I would say that I got fooled per se, but I always like April Fools, specifically in that, like, I am on YouTube a fair bit, and April Fool's content is like my favorite thing on YouTube, where because some channels put a lot of effort into that shit. Like one channel I watch a lot, Nitro Rad, where he usually covers like surreal RPGs, like Lisa or Amori or something. And every year on April Fools, he always just like goes insane and makes these like weird short film video hybrid things that are super cool. And this year, like, he tied it into a review of the iCarly game for the Wii. And just interesting stuff like that I always like seeing. And then sometimes I'll see an announcement for something, and it is that thing of like, oh, is this real? Is this not? It's just fun. I like it because every year I feel like there's at least one thing I see that is real, but I'm just really skeptical of it the whole time. Yeah, just clicking on videos and then immediately looking like, oh shit, this was posted today. Okay, never mind. Or even like into today, I was watching YouTube and seeing stuff. And like, what? Like really? And then, oh no, this was posted yesterday. I see. Um, but yeah, I think it's fun. The Square Enix put out like an April Fool's trailer for the Near Replicant remaster as well that I thought was funny, where it was basically they just framed it as like an Animal Crossing, where they had like the main character going around like fishing and interacting with wildlife and stuff that is like this chill adventure and all this stuff talking about, even though it's a brutally depressing game. But
Yeah.
I just like it. I think it's fun. I like the spirit of it.
Yeah, I saw that Control demake to PS1 that Remedy like threw out there, and
I didn't see that. That sounds really cool though.
it was neat, but coming off of the heels of you showing me those videos, I wish I could remember. I want to like shout out the person who made those. But
Oh,
the
yeah, the
Bloodborne
demake,
demake,
yeah.
you know, that those videos that you showed me, that was cool. I'm sure you're looking it up now, but like when I saw that and I saw the boss fight against the cleric beast at the beginning of the game, I was like, "This is so awesome!" I wouldn't want to play it like that, but I still thought it was really fun to look at and to compare to the PS4 version, right?
Yeah, it's such a passion project. Lilith Walther is the creator of it, and yeah, they have a ton of videos on their channel just talking about or like showing off different stuff for it, and it is a really really cool project for sure. But yeah, we were talking about the Control remake. I need to look up that video because that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. The one funny thing is like, yeah, the weapon kind of floats off to the side, not in what's her face's hand. So, but otherwise, it's just kind of like, I think it was just a little bit less interesting to look at compared to the Bloodborne one. There's just a lot more happening on the screen, but also in a way confusing. So I don't know. It was fine. It's worth checking out. Yeah, let's just move right into our personal favorite 50 games of all time. We're been going through all these. We started at 50, obviously, and we're now down to 40. So that's pretty cool. Ziggy, what is your number 40 game?
My number 40 game is Super Hot. And I am bundling in all the Super Hots into this because they're all basically the same game, just sort of different formats.
That's what you meant by this game was hot.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying that before we started recording. But I think my favorite version for sure is Super Hot VR, just because it, I think, delivers on the core idea of the game so well. But yeah, I mean, it's the most innovative shooter I've played in years. But I don't even know how to really talk about this game because it's one of those games that is kind of so rooted in public consciousness as like a very unique and good game.
Someone who hasn't played in VR, explain what it's like to play that game. What are you trying to do? Right? Like,
yeah, so essentially, yeah, if you've never heard of it somehow, it's first person shooter. Time moves only when you do. So it is like the bullet time scenes in the Matrix, but it's the whole game, which allows for this really interesting, almost like, it's almost more of a puzzle game than a shooter, I would say. Where combat encounters aren't really about skill and reflexes. It's about, okay, there's 12 guys around me. I have a pipe. That guy has a gun. That guy has a shotgun, and there is a I don't know, a pool ball on the floor in front of me, like a cue ball. And so you like go and you reach for the cue ball, but reaching for the cue ball means that some of those people advance towards you, and one of them fires a bullet. And so you like, when you're moving this in VR, you're actually moving. So you like sort of like go, whoa, and like slowly, move off to the side to let the bullet pass. You're like, okay, that's good. And so you throw the cue ball at the one guy, hits him in the head, you catch the gun in midair. It's just like this really slow, like every single tiny movement can kill you. So you have to really think through everything you do.
Every movement you do you have to think about it.
And it's just so cerebral, I guess, but also just so intense, where especially like when you're playing Twister in VR, where like two people are shooting at you and you're having to dodge them, while reaching for a gun over here, or like you can literally like just reach into people's chests and pull their heart out if you want, which is the coolest fucking mechanic. And I think every VR game should have that. Or I don't know, chopping people in half and all this stuff. And even when you're on keyboard and mouse, I feel like that feeling still persists. I wouldn't say it's as like intense, but I also think on PC that the puzzle of it, I think they can do more interesting things because you're not bound by your physical body limitations. You can do like in keyboard and mouse, you can jump, which has really big gameplay ramifications on it, where it's a really great evasive strategy, but you're moving the whole time. Like, you can't stop in midair, so it moves things along a lot. So you jump and suddenly there's 12 bullets coming at you, and that's a puzzle you have to get out of. But yeah, it's just such a smartly designed game. And outside of just its core mechanics too, like all of its levels take advantage of that so well, where they always are like sneaky, where you always think you have someone in a room and then a bullet hits you in the head and you die. And you're like, what the hell? Like, where did that come from? And you come like snap right back in, try it again. And then you see him the second time, you're like, okay, you do that. But then something else hits you, you're like, shit. And you do it. Like, it's just a really fun sort of trial.
Yeah, there's something fun about learning until you're a master. And then do you get to rewatch it after you finish a level or an area? Oh, sweet. So do you get to see like everything you just did?
Yeah, then played up to real time speed. So
that's cool. That's
like you're
cool.
Just a god at the game.
I haven't played it yet.
You're just like reaching out like super fast, super fun. Yeah, you haven't played Super Hot?
It's been one of those, it's the one. It's on the list. I want to play it. I just haven't. I have a hard time spending money on VR, even though I totally should. I just setting it up and doing it, and then spending money on it. Fair. There's so many barriers that stop me. And I wish there wasn't. I wish I had a space that I could just have it set up permanently all the time, and then I would 100% have no problem spending the money. But I think it's purely the having to set it up and not being able to keep it set up that keeps me away.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. The same thing. Like, I have to pull it out, plug it in my computer, and all that. I don't know if the cameras.
I have the sensors right too. So
yeah. But yeah, Super Hot. I would encourage you to play it, even just the keyboard and mouse version. I believe it's on Game Pass.
No, so I'm just gonna play it on VR. I want to play it in VR. That's the one that was what got me. I want to play it in VR for sure. I want to get shot in the head in VR.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a better experience in VR. Yeah, if you had to pick one, I would say VR. But for anyone watching, like if you don't have a headset, don't think that you're not getting the full experience by playing a keyboard and mouse. Like, I definitely think you are. It's just different, and in my opinion, not as intense, but still totally worth playing. I think Super Hot was also the first game that came out in VR that made me go, holy shit, I need a headset. Where as I was already a huge fan of the base game, and then seeing having never actually experienced VR, but just imagining in my head what that could be like, just crazy, and it totally lives up to it. Anyways, what's your number 40? I've talked for a long time.
Yeah, no, it was great. I liked hearing about it because it makes me want to play it again. Bring that back to the top of the backlog. My number 40 though is a trip back the past, Mario Bros 3. I love the heck out of that game. That's the one with Mario in his little Tanuki costume up on the front of the box. And for the record, that is the one Mario game that I've beaten every level. And I remember that, and that was the first one I ever beat, obviously, since it's the only one actually, now that I think about it. But, there's this point in time when I was younger where I remember going through and beating every single level. And then I can't even remember now what happened, but I think you can just go back and replay any of the levels at that point, but you can go past them. Like, they have the image. Maybe I'm wrong here, so I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you have the image like where you haven't played the level yet. And normally you'd stop at that one. You can't go past it, but instead you can now once you've beaten all the levels in the game. But that was just really, really cool. And that was just such a memory. And obviously the angry sun, it's so iconic. You have that level where the sun is flying down at you and you're trying to get through a level, but you're also trying to avoid the sun in the sky trying to land on you. So the way the levels are all kind of themed almost around like as if it's a play, right? You get to the end, it's almost like a stage, like an actual stage with props and everything.
And they're all like bolted to the screen too,
Yeah,
right?
there's screws and bolts
Yeah.
and everything's like holding it in there. It's such a unique kind of weird dreamish world, and I like the way the worlds look. I like the giant world where all the the Goombas and turtles are big. I think it was the first Mario to do that, and I just remember that being really really cool, really something that stood out to me as a kid as whoa, it took something that I know, but now it's bigger, and you still kill it in one hit by landing on it. But it's cool because it's big, it's different, right?
Yeah.
And I think I feel like they must have had Luigi in there before, but I don't know. Like I just remember that it was the first like real Mario game that I played a lot with my brother, where we both played Mario and Luigi. I remember Luigi being significant in that. So, anyways. Getting the frog suit, that was cool. The little Hammer Bros outfit, like that outfit, I remember just really wanting the frog suit though, and learning about this little secret spot. You could have your items bar, and when you're in the overworld, if you had a hammer, you could break through certain rocks, which would unlock little secret areas in the overworld. That was cool. Why don't they have that still? Like that stuff was sick. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun memories to that. So I don't really have to talk about it forever. It's Mario, everyone knows Mario, but those were the things that I really remember, and that is higher on the list because it is a game that I always want to go back to constantly, and I just keep wanting to play it, and I just have a good time with pretty much every level in that game, and the end levels are really difficult. Like they are a good challenge.
Yeah, two things. One, so I guess feel free to say no to this question in case it's spoilers for the rest of the year. But is this your favorite 2D Mario?
I'm gonna look at my list real quick because I actually don't remember. It might be.
Huh.
Actually, I don't think it is. Silence. No, it's not. I think it's my second.
Huh.
I'm
interested to see what your first is then. But yeah, the second thing is what you're talking about, like the whole stage play, like that sort of dreamy aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo, I really like how they experiment in different aesthetics with franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Like Link's Awakening.
I was just gonna say that.
A really good example. Yeah, where they, Zelda does not have an established look. Like it has, established characters and all these things, but they can look either like dark and edgy, like in Twilight Princess. And I don't use edgy in a bad way. I just think that's the look of it. But yeah, like that sort of realistic dark look, or it can be Wind Waker, or it could be like a little clay toy. And it's always been really disappointing to me that they just don't seem to do that with Mario like anymore. They used to, like we were talking about with like the whole stage play look here, or like Sunshine, or like kind of had a different aesthetic. But ever since new Super Mario Bros, it's all just kind of looked like that. And I think Mario Odyssey did some really cool, interesting things in terms of like world design, and all the worlds look so different, unique. But at the end of the day, they all still looked like Mario. Like Mario does feel like it has a very established look. And
not even that though. I found Odyssey just had worlds that looked too realistic. It didn't feel like I wanted more classic Mushroom Kingdom vibe. I did not like Odyssey. It's my least favorite 3D Mario game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's my least
interesting.
favorite.
I haven't played it. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show before. Not a Mario guy. I kind of don't like Mario that much. But it's always been a little disappointing to me. I wish Nintendo would experiment with him more, and maybe it's just because he is so iconic to them. Like when you think Nintendo, when you think video games, you think Mario. So changing it up too much, I think they're maybe a little bit afraid to do that. Where Zelda's huge, but Zelda isn't Mario. It's just not in terms of iconography. But I love to see a cute little like clay Mario, or something crazy out there. They do that with Yoshi, like with Yoshi's whole like hand stitched aesthetic. That looks super cool if they could do something like that with him. Like Paper Mario, I guess, is pretty different, but those are not mainline games by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I don't know. It's always been a little sad to me.
Yeah, I found Odyssey had good movement for Mario, right? But I didn't find the world or what you're doing in the game to be very enjoyable or interesting. Yeah. So that's kind of what made it not fun for me. Like I liked running around and jumping, but I need a reason to do that, and I find to get that little endorphin rush by getting all these moons every 2 seconds, it doesn't work on me. Sorry.
Yeah.
I need to have that goal at the end. You need this star. You're going for the star. You got the star. Yeah, you beat the level. Try, go back to this world, but now it's slightly different. You're getting a different star. I find that a lot more enjoyable, and just have the coins, to be something. Like that was another thing is and I beat Mario Odyssey, but I didn't do everything in the game. I can't remember if there's a reason to get 100 coins in any of the worlds, but I know in like other Mario games, you play Mario 64, any level, you have your objective star you're trying to get, but you could get 100 coins and you get the 100 coin star. And that was cool. That was something like that made you have to go to almost every area in the game, in that world, to collect every coin you could, kill every enemy you could, just try to get that counter up to 100, and then you get the star. And that was like an actual feat. I remember in Mario Sunshine, which a lot of people downplay, but it's a great Mario game. They don't like it because you can't crouch and do your backflip or do the crouch and long jump, right? But I mean, why would you, when you can do a little like a running forward then side flip? You can do the same kind of thing. It's in a different way. You can hover forward for a distance. Why would you be able to long jump if they're trying to make you hover with water, right? But I was bringing that up because that game has a hub world of Isle Delfino. You have your hub world. It's all dark, and as you collect more shine sprites, it becomes brighter, and it's a really fun area to run around and look at little nooks and crannies. You can find secrets, you can find little secret shines, and then as you progress through the game, you can get different nozzles for FLUDD, so where you can like boost in really fast speed, break through certain doors that normally you couldn't run through, or shoot with the rocket up really high and check out different areas, or get a Yoshi and eat a fruit and get juice that you can use to like burn up some weird jelly stuff. Like I don't know, the world that you can explore just in the main hub was really, really neat, and you could still get the 100 coins there and get the 100 coin shine in the main hub world, and that was so cool to me. So for me, I felt like Odyssey was very much just you're collecting coins, but they're called moons almost, where you're getting like 30 of these things in a level. It just didn't feel special to get them. I don't know why I went on that tangent.
So I know there's a lot of Zelda games on your list. How many Mario games?
Oh shit! There? You're not supposed to see that.
I just know, knowing you, I know like half of your list is gonna be various Zelda games. But like you don't need to tell me a number, but like, is there a significant amount of Mario games on here? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. I like Mario. I like Mario in certain circumstances. I do actually really enjoy Mario games. I like playing them. Typically, it's the 3D single player ones. I don't think I have really many of the other ones. But touching quickly on like just the worlds and how you were saying, you like how Zelda does different themes, different doing the clay look or its toy look for Link's Awakening, right? I found since Super Mario World, where all the like worlds were kind of food themed almost, I feel like almost every Mario game since then, and I'm probably wrong, I don't care. I feel like every Mario game after that has either been themed after an like all the worlds are themed after elements, like it's a grassy area, a lava area, or icy area, a air like cloud area, or it's been food themed, where it's still the grassy area, but it's not grass, it's licorice or something, you know what I mean? Where it's not water level, it's a root beer float world. I don't know. It's very weird how it seems to be always food or element focused now, and yeah, I would love to see them just bring it back to, or not even bring it back, sorry, change it up a little bit. Do a little bit of a different design, just one art style. Do Art Deco. Follow a Bioshock building style, that would be awesome.
That could be kind of fun, honestly.
But
I'd be down with that.
Anyways, we've been talking about this long. I honestly thought my game was going to take less time than yours, but
looking at my list, I'm really excited to talk about next week's. I'm going to be honest.
That's awesome.
Fun
yeah, so let's move on. Let's go right into our game club game for this coming week. Again, game club is just a thing we do where it's just like, you know, we take a game that we haven't played before. Usually it's from Game Pass because that's the most affordable and easiest to get to that we, you know, right now for us. We play a game we haven't played before and we give our impressions next week. So if you want to join us, download it, check it out. Leave a comment on, you know, let us know what you think of it. I'm always watching for that, so I'll be aware. And this week's game club game is going to be Narita Boy.
Yeah, I'm excited to play this one. This is another one you guys should look at the trailer at.
Yeah,
it just looks cool. I don't know. I've heard mixed things, just like very briefly, but I am very.
I've heard nothing.
Okay, yeah. I now that I know I'm gonna play it, I want to stop looking at anything about it. But
as your eyes start across the screen.
Well, I'm just looking at the images of it right now because like the art in this game really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really cool.
I'm trying to just switch over to it.
I'm sure I'll talk about all about that juicy pixel art next episode.
Yeah, so without, you know, anything else to say, we're gonna end the episode here for today. Thank you so much for watching. You know, if you really liked what we were talking about, you liked the discussion, please leave a like and subscribe, you know, share the video, do all the good stuff, hit that little bell thing, ring a ding. You know, it all helps out. I really appreciate it. And yeah, leave comments, let us know how we can improve, you know, let us know what you think of the game club game for the week, and we'll see y'all in the next episode. Check us out in the description. Yeah, we have links in the description. What's that?
Now keep peeking that screen. That's what I said the first time.
Yeah, what he said. Bye.
See ya.